Hello and welcome to vlog number 12. This week I'm recording this earlier in the week because last time it was a bit of a rush on the Sunday to get everything ready, and that's not really what I want to be doing. So I think it's Thursday, and as I sit here I have no idea how long the video is going to turn out to be, so it will be as much of a voyage of discovery for me as it is for you. So I'll stop rambling now and invite you to enjoy this video. I've got to the end of Sunday and I'm absolutely exhausted, so I'm just going to do a little bit on this just so that I can keep some focus and some progress going, and then I'm going to get a relatively early night. So my plan is to put a window in the house next door, which is going to go right here, I think. As I've mentioned before, I didn't have enough space, and probably looking at it, I've not done this absolutely perfectly, but the focus of it is Sam and Rosie's house, so whatever. I could just say that their one goes further back and Sam's is more flat. It's almost like the shape is more like that and then flat for Sam. Anyway, so I'm going to use the same material as I did for the round window that's on Sam's house, but I'm going to put a little roof over the top of it with the same technique with matchsticks. And then once I've done that, I will be doing a little bit of the sculpting just probably towards the front. So I'll be looking at just going up to the foam and not much more than that, because I'm very tired, but I do want to achieve something, and that's the first step of the next part of the build. So I will be back later on to show you how that's going, and I will look forward to making some progress this evening, I hope. So I got quite a lot done actually in the end, which I'm quite pleased about, and it's still not so late that I can't get a nice early night, which I'm also very, very pleased about. I've put a window on here, which you can't see very well. I will move the camera around in a short while to show you that one. And I've also, as you can see, put the Luke's APS modelling compound all the way along the front to smooth it up. So this is where the track goes, this is where the first entrance goes, and here is where the second entrance goes. And I'm going to let that go off, and then I'll come back, and I can't decide whether I'm going to put more sculpting on here or if I'm just going to go straight in with the rest of the treatment. I probably will go for some more sculpting, but for now I'm happy. I've reached the place I wanted to, so I'm not going to push on. I'm going to go and get a rest and hopefully have more energy tomorrow. So now let me see if I can very carefully and without it being too juddery move the tripod around. There we are, that was okay, wasn't it? And zoom right in. There we are, we've got a little window. So I will let that dry. That's just been glued on. Actually, I did end up using Luke's basing glue as well, because it's a little more viscous, so it actually held it without me having to faff around with anything else. I will put a roof over that, as I mentioned, but I'll do that once it's fully dried. And my plan is to do some art, or maybe print out a picture of a window with some curtains or something and stick it in the middle, so that won't be going onto grey, so don't worry. So anyway, there we are. That's not so bad, not such a bad place to leave it. I will be back to this tomorrow. I need to keep doing a little bit every day, but for now I'm pretty pleased with the progress I've made. We're back to work on the Hobbit hole for Rosie. I've had a few deliveries through today, so I thought I'd show you those first, and then what I'm going to be doing is continuing with the Luke's modelling compound to go up over the rest of the model, just to finish that off, let that go off, and then tomorrow I can start doing the dressing up, which is good because I'll have other things happening this evening as well. I've had this little item here, which hopefully won't get too dark. Yeah, so that has some swords, which won't be going on obviously. It has a little kind of plant pot here, which will be. It has some little tools, a sieve and some clogs, which I probably won't put the clogs on because hobbits don't wear shoes. It's got a saw and an axe handle, and then a little kind of like gardening unit. So I'll be popping that probably, I think that's in shot, just somewhere outside there. That's going to go in the garden. Secondly, I have a hitching rails and pump from Knuckle Duster Miniatures Old West, which was the best thing I could find on eBay for the tiny little pump. So there we are, tiny little pump. So that's very, very cool. And a hitching post. Not that I need them, but anyway, it was only a very cheap item. And the other thing that's come, which isn't actually going to be useful, I ordered some more sunflowers, and they're just a little bit too teeny tiny for what I'm wanting, so they'll go and possibly be used on the model railway. They're not going to get wasted, but the other ones I bought the other day, which are larger, are going to be absolutely perfect. So what I'm going to do now is get my hands filthy and start smearing the modelling compound all over this, and I will be back a bit later on to show off just how it looks. Yesterday I ended about 11 o'clock and I was way too tired to even think about videoing, so I didn't. But I did do a fair amount on this. It's actually quite tiring working with this modelling compound to make it as smooth as I was trying to make it. And I was hammering away and I just went to bed. However, I'm back, I've got a bit more energy and I'm going to do as much as I can. What I've realised is that before I finish doing off the top, you can't see that, before I finish doing off the top of the Hobbit hole, I need to think about the roof. And if you look at the picture, you'll see that coming from behind the chimney and going across, there is a ridgepole. And then from down there, there is like the roof kind of slopes down. What I've got is this thick skewer, which has come from a dinner, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to press that into the back of the chimney and then make the roof sections coming down here and down here, and when I've done that, and I'll probably end up doing all of the rest of it as well, then I'll continue working with this modelling compound to build up the back of the actual Hobbit hole, which does actually go quite high looking at the picture, so it's probably going to add another inch, maybe even 4 centimetres to the height of it. So it's going to take maybe 2 or 3, if I do it all in modelling compound, it's going to take a lot of modelling compound, so I might end up even sticking some more foam on there, so we will see. But it's an experiment. I'm definitely missed a little bit last night. I was hoping to have completed all this last night, so I'm a little bit behind where I wanted to be, so I'm going to try and crack on and get as much of this done as I can this evening, and I will try to come back on camera to show the progress by the end of the day. So I've spent some time looking at this and I have built it up. I've put in the beam behind the chimney, as you can see, and what I've also done is carved out some more blue foam and stuck it on using the gator glue. I've just noticed that I've left the lid off, which is not a very good idea with gator glue, so I'll put that lid back on. I'm pretty pleased with how that's looking at the moment. I think that will work quite well. I may need to do some carving down, but right now it's it's going to build up to the correct height, and with maybe a little bit of carving once it's all finished, it will be absolutely the correct contours, and then I can do the rest of the modelling compound tomorrow. And yeah, I'm still a little behind on this build from where I wanted to be, but not quite as terrible as I thought earlier this evening when I realised that actually I needed to put more foam on this. We're getting there. It's a really good build. I think it's going to look fantastic when it's done. I'm massively excited by how it looks. Just a little bit of rework and a little bit of doing things again, and you know, should have planned better, but it's all good. I'm really enjoying making it and I'm happy that we are where we are. It's the morning after, and that has glued very nicely. It's very solid indeed, which is good. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to try and get some time on this during the day. I'm getting a bit frustrated with how slowly it's going, so I'm going to carve it down and I'll try to invite you along whenever I do a little bit. Because this evening I'd very much like to get to the point where I can put the rest of Luke's compound on all over and leave it to dry overnight. So very pleased, I'm going to crack on today and I will invite you along when I do something. I've not got half as much done during the day as I hoped because I've actually been a bit busy, but what I have done just around lunch is begun to shape up the way that the roof is going to go. So it's a curved roof and it goes up behind the chimney. So this I've just used some packing card which will give me the shape, and then I'll be able to lay over the top of that with the actual tiles, but I'll do that after I've finished doing all the scenery, I think. The other thing that I've done is I have, if I can show that, I have cut a little section which is going to be a bit of a kitchen garden, because I think Sam would definitely have a kitchen garden, wouldn't he? So I'm going to glue those two things in place, and then also cut and shape and glue in place the roof for the back here. Once that's done and they're set and stable, I will then do the rest of the roof around down the front here, and also the other side, which is along there, and across the top of the window at the end, which you can't see at the moment. And that's good. So I'm just going to crack on with that now for a bit and let it dry, and yeah, onwards. I've put the rest of the card showing the form of the roof and stuck it in just now with PVA. I'll leave that to dry, it won't take very long, and then I'll come back and carry on doing the sculptor mould basing. So yeah, bit of progress, looking good, happy with it so far. Onwards and upwards. The cardboard is stuck down well enough now on the window over here and all the way along the front, so that's looking very nice. So now I have my modelling compound and I'm going to mix it up, and I'm just going to do as much as I can before I pass out with exhaustion. Hopefully I won't pass out with exhaustion before I finish, because I'd very much like to have this done tonight. This is a big moment because I actually have used 1 kilogram of Luke's mix and I've opened another bag. So yeah, it's going through it quite quickly. I might even have to order again. What you can see here is the little garden area which I'm doing for Sam. So I'm going to turn the camera off and just get stuck in and do as much of this sculpting as I possibly can. So I'll invite you back at the end of the evening and show you where I've got to. There we have it, the end of the night, and I've finished doing the sculptor mould. And I'm very pleased with how that's gone on actually. I was at the first making the batches a bit too large, and it was drying out quite a lot before I'd even got to spreading it. But I halved then halved again the batch size, and that made that it was still very moist and very easy to spread and smooth. And I'm happy with how it looks. It's not a smooth bowling green, it's a rough old bank which has a beautiful hobbit hole dug into it. So when that's covered over with flock and with all the other processes, it will look really, really good. It's all smoothed in around. It's just coming on really well. I'm very, very pleased. So I'm going to leave that to go off overnight, and tomorrow I'll probably come in and start applying paint and sand. My plan for today, in the brief gaps during work when I can get back to my desk, is to start working on the shingling for the roof. I have these Sarissa cardboard shingles which I really, really like. They work very well, and I have a few offcuts that I save, so you can see that there's one going to go there, and I'll do another one here and cut it here and build it up, and that should look well. I think the rest of this here and most of this down on this side is actually going to be covered over with, not with shingles. I might do some shingles on some of the deeper sections, but I think a lot of that will actually end up then getting covered over with grasses and with soil and what have you. So that's what I'm going to do today. I will be sure to show you how it looks like when I am done. The roof is in place, including, you can see, I'm just securing the shingles that are going over the window here. And so now I'm on to the bit that I really like. I'm going to start dressing the board, call it a board, the display board, and then I can begin doing the ground. So doing the dirt, and then the grass, and then the static grass, and then everything else around it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put the fence in along here, and also do the fence, which you can see it kind of is very, very close to this bank here, goes in here, disappears inside some bushes, and then comes out at 90 degrees here towards where the fence is. So where the fence is, where the gate is. So what I'm going to be doing is using this tool here, which will allow me to press holes into the terrain, and then that is actually the right size for a matchstick, and I'll then be able to put the matchstick in there with some glue and it will stick in place. And that is what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to gather my matchsticks, and I will probably put this on with some music so you can enjoy watching this, but I will shift the camera, so I'll be back in a minute, and you can watch me as I put the fence along in this area. So there we are, that was actually quite good fun doing that. They're all stuck in with PVA. What I'll do is I'll leave that now and come back to that tomorrow. That's going to be all nice and secure. They're going to glue in nicely because they're actually dug in, and tomorrow I can start to do the base. Now I'm looking at this and I'm seeing that it's quite a sandy colour. Actually you can't see it there. I'm looking at that and realising that the land is actually quite a sandy colour. So I'm going to have a little bit of fun looking up some materials to do that with. Normally I do brown soil. This is very much of a lighter, sandier soil, so I'm going to be thinking about that and getting that all covered on tomorrow, and then that will seal it all down, a bit more support for the fence and onwards. So yeah, we are making good progress here. Next up, I'm going to be painting all of the entire board actually. Yeah, I'm not going to be doing it with the usual brown terrain paint. I've actually mixed up some more paint with a different colour, the Afrikansky, which I've used in the past. Because if you have a look, you'll see on the picture that I'm going off, it's a very pale coloured soil and it even goes pale over towards the edges. And so that will do a better job of giving me that base colour. So I'm going to do that very quickly. I'm going to just paint across the whole thing. I'll pop some music on and you can watch. Taken a little while off these, doing other things, focusing on other builds, but now I'm absolutely determined I'm going to get them finished because they're so very, very close. There's a couple of processes to do on each of these two buildings. On this one, the only thing left to do is to finish off the top of this wall. So I'm going to paint that grey and call it done, and I'll be happy with that. On this one, there's a little bit more to be done. First of all, I've got to do the slabs. So what I'm going to be doing on this is I have a sharp tool. And let me zoom that in a bit so you can see maybe. There we are. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be scoring the gap between each of the slabs with the sharp tool. Because what I did was I stuck some card on here because I wasn't happy with the slabs that were there before. So just by drawing this tool like so, I can create the gaps for the slabs, and then I can paint that grey. And there's one on the back as well. Ta-da! Which I'll do the same. There we are. So I'll be able to paint that grey and these grey at the same time. And the final thing to be done here, apart from painting the horse, which I will get on with later, is I want to have this stable door half open. So what I'm going to do is cut it in half. I'm going to glue the bottom half back in, and then I'm going to glue the top half open outwards so that I can then have said horse, which is here, and I can have that horse painted up and stood with its head poking out over the stable door. So I'm going to get my paint and I'm going to apply grey paint, dark grey paint to these areas, and then I'm going to cut this and glue it in, and I will show you what it looks like when it is done. Well, that was nice and quick. You can see that the top of this wall is now painted, and I'm pretty sure that I'm done with this one. For now at least, I may do more. And on here I have painted the steps. I also realised that I hadn't put these porches on, so as well as sticking the actual supports in, I've also gone back and done some the roofs with the shingles, which will need to be spray painted and all sorts of stuff. So there'll be a day or two off finished. And then around on this side you can see the door for the stable is open halfway. Whee! So I'm going to let that all dry. It's all still quite wet with the glue, and I'll come back and finish this one off, and I'll have a look at the other one and see whether it's finished. I think actually there is a little bit to do on this, thinking about it. The gaps between the sheets, I want to do something, and I think I'm going to do it with brick. So I'm going to do some brick style paper. I'll find some or print some off or make some, and then when that's done, that will get stuck on these gaps. However, that won't be done very soon, and at the moment it's playable at least. So yeah, good progress there. Now that the first paint on the base is dry, I'm going to come in and I'm going to work on the roof. So I've just got some dark grey paint, just some house paint as it is. And the first colour, because they're slates if we look at the picture, I'm just going to cover that all over with grey paint. Next up, I'm going to put some reddish brown onto the chimney, but I want this to be quite a dry brush, so I need to get some roll, as my brush is wet because I've just washed it. Dry that off and get some. I don't want to put too much on. There we are, that's very effective. That looks great. I may come back with some more, but for now that is sufficient. So the other day I was walking out of room 13 about to go downstairs, and I glanced out the back window and I noticed that our bank has very pale, creamy coloured soil. That photograph was taken from the landing just above the stairs, and what you'll notice is that it is very like the colour that you see on the track on this picture. So I went outside with a little shovel and I picked some up and I spread it out on a tray, and I've been sat that in front of the fire for a couple of days, and it's now perfectly dry and the colour match is pretty good. So my plan for today is to make use of this and to put that down over the diorama where I want it to go. Not all of it. I'm probably going to brown the soil by the actual hobbit hole and where Sam has been preparing the ground for actually growing, because I think that he would know how to use compost. But this is going to be really nice because it's also going to be a touch of home that's going to be on this diorama. I'm happy with how dry this sand is now, this soil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sieve it through my smallest sieve, my number one as I call it. I'm going to put it into this container so that I have it and I can then start to spread it onto the path, onto the little track. So I'm going to go and do that now, and I'll be back when I'm starting to actually make use of this. I've just sat, watched Father Ted and sifted out all of that soil into this useful container, and it is now very, very fine and looks really good. You can see just how fine that is. You can barely see that going out, so that's really nice. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to get my watered down PVA, paint it on where I want it to go, which is all the way along this, and then sprinkle it over using the little tub thing that I've got inside. That's my usual pattern. So I will pop some music on and you can watch along. I'm going to use a bigger brush than I normally do because I don't have all that much time, and that will allow me to do this slightly quicker. So enjoy the music. There we are. I'm going to let that to dry now, probably for the next hour or so, and then come back and see what it looks like. But I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to leave it how it is and let that paint to dry. Paint? I keep saying that. Let the glue dry. I've left this a little bit to dry, just enough. So what I'm now going to do, carefully move that out of the way, is very carefully pick it up and empty it into this tray, from which I can then put it back into its pot. I thought I'd do this on camera, actually, because I'm right-handed, or stronger with my right hand. I'm actually going to move that around. There we are, because I can then control it better with this hand. So let's see whether I damage it or whether this all goes very, very badly wrong. Well, there we are. That has stuck quite nicely. I'm now going to take that down into a warmer room so that it can dry properly for a good few hours, and then I'll come across and hoover it to get all this off. But looking at it, I'm actually quite tempted to go sift a load more and cover the whole thing and then flock on top of that, because that's the right colour for the soil. So I might even end up doing that, but that has come out about 1,000 times better than I thought it might. I'm very, very, very pleased. So the last couple of processes on this. The first of the last couple of processes is going to be to paint the doors. Now I've decided that I want these to be done in green, and so I've got my nice rich green here, which I'm going to use, and I'm just going to, again, having shaken it, just going to use the paint that gathers in the lid, and I'm just going to paint these doors, which is not going to take me very long at all. I might need a smaller brush, so I might well go and get a smaller brush. I say go. Reach for one right next to me. There's one, that'll do. Let's just paint that in. It might take a couple of coats because it is quite a transparent paint, which I really like because it means it doesn't go over the top when you don't want it to. But it does mean that you do get quite a lot of brush strokes in it. Let that to dry, and I'll do the back door, which are also going to be green. There we are. Let's go back to that front door. So the other thing that's to be done is the horse, which is going to be standing with its head out here, which is on a painting handle right here. So what I'm going to do is, while that's drying and before I put another coat on later, I'm going to start painting up this horse. Now I've decided that I want this horse to be a very beautiful horse, like a piebald. So it's going to be a creamy white all over, and then it's going to have patches of like a chestnut or a reddy brown on it. So I'll get myself set up on that, and I think I will invite you along for that painting session because I'm looking forward to it. I've not painted any miniatures for a while again. So yeah, give me a minute and I'll be back. Okay, I'm set. I have the horse, I have my paints I've picked, I have a roll of paper for cleaning my brushes, I have my brushes to hand as well, and I have some water. So we can go, and I'm going to try and do this on camera as best as I can. So first of all, I'm going to be using Vallejo Off-White, which is 70820. There we are, 70820 Off-White. And I'm going to paint over the entire horse with that, because then, after that, I'm going to put on some Saddle Brown, which is 70940, and that's what's going to be my second colour. So I'm just going to do two colours on this horse, and hopefully that's going to look very nice. So hopefully I'll remember to keep this in shot. It is the hardest thing in the world to remember to keep things in shot. If you haven't done this yet on camera, then you won't know just how difficult that is. Now, I'm not the greatest painter, so I won't do this at real time. I will chuck some music on for you. There we are, that's one coat done. So I'm going to let that dry, which won't take long. And I'll come back later on and do a second coat, and I'll invite you along for that as well. This is getting excitingly close to completed. What I'm now about to do is glue on the porches, which is going to be very, very quick. But I thought I'd invite you along anyway, because I like talking to you. So just a little bit of PVA along the tops. There we are. These I sprayed with the same colour, nut brown. Yep, just make sure that sits in, which it should do. If I can do this right. I had them sitting in before when it was off camera. There we are, that's sitting in now, good. And then we'll do the back. And then it's a case of finishing off the horse, and the whole thing's done on this building, which is pretty exciting. The inside I'm leaving bare because I haven't yet decided what to do. I'm thinking of a rush type floor in this building, as it is a little bit run down. It's not quite as pretty as the other one. It's got knackered ceiling roofs, as you can see from this. So I'm thinking of a rush floor, and I've got an idea of how to do that, but I need to let it percolate in my mind before I actually try to film it. So I'll probably finish this and then come back when I'm ready and do it then. So I'll let that to dry. We'll go back to doing the horse, which has had a second coat of the white on it. So that's now ready for me to attempt to paint the piebald on with some saddle brown, and Angela suggests I put some burnt red in as well to make it a little bit richer, so I'll probably try that. So when the second coat on that is dried, I will be jumping back onto the horse. I've decided I'm going to do some more painting, so let me zoom in on this. This here is going to be my battle company, and is going to be Boy George with his awesome hat. So I'm not going to do this on camera because I fancy a little bit of time off, having to think about being in shot, and also I just want to get this one done because yeah, I'm quite a long way behind on my target. I was supposed to paint all these in January and I'm rapidly running out of time, so I'm going to have to get a crack on with this. So I will be back at the end of the evening. This is going to be my final thing this evening, and show you where I get up to, how much of this I get done. I'm quite looking forward to it. This is a project that I'm quite excited about. Sorry, I seem to have lost focus. There we are. I'm quite excited about this project. Getting these all painted up in such a fun way. So yes, I'll be back when I have completed my evening and see where I get to. I did a Boy George. I'm quite pleased with that. Hopefully you can see that nicely enough. So I went off of a picture that I found on the internet, which I will now put in front of the just on my phone. So you can see that he's got the bright red and he's got white and black. So that's what I went for. Very pleased. It's nice to get back onto the painting kind of wagon. So yeah, so I've got the next one to do is going to be David Bowie, which is this pose here, which if I can get that to focus. Don't know. Yes. So that's going to be David Bowie. I'm not sure when I'll get to that, but that's the next one to paint, and then it'll be on to the normal No more miniatures. Sorry for that beeping, that's my Bluetooth speaker which is running out of battery. So yeah, there we are, that's me done for the evening, and yeah, good progress. So there we are, we've made it to the end. It's a slightly shorter one than the last couple of weeks have been, which is a bit of a relief for me as well as probably for you. But it's also been a good week. I've spent a lot of time working on Rosie's Hobbit Hole, obviously, as that's the one project that's right front and centre in my mind. But I have come to realise that I'm probably actually going to be a little bit late. It's probably not going to be completely finished for her birthday, mainly because I made a mistake on eBay and I thought I'd ordered a load of stuff and it left stuck in my checkout, which I'm not entirely sure why. But today I sorted that out finally. However, it's highly unlikely that those things are going to arrive in time for me to make use of them and get them on the board and get it all completed. Fingers crossed, there's a chance, but a very, very small chance. So I do hope that you enjoyed watching that. I enjoyed making it, as I always do. I'm going to raise my extraordinarily large cup of tea and toast you for watching the whole thing. There we are. What I'm going to say now is, if you are not yet a subscriber, please do click that button below. I love seeing those numbers go up. I went past double Nelson this week, which caused me a lot of joy. And if you are a subscriber, don't forget to ding the bell so that you're informed whenever one of these videos goes live. And last but very much not least, thank you very much for watching Beard Clipper.